during this season, I've had a lot of time to think and reflect and realize that I have lived. And I'm talking about living out loud. Because I've been up Mount Kilimanjaro twice. I've done Mount Kenya. You've cycled to Kitui and back. I've gone to Sagana just because bicycle cycling. I've lived. I've done the things that I enjoy.
Timothy Kowino is a 43-year-old gentleman, and 2023, 17th of July, he was involved in a road accident. Every morning at 6 a.m., Tim could take his bike, go and do his cycling. Then by 7:30, he's back in the house and ready to do his other chores. Tim was a businessman, so most of his work he could do in the house, online, and sometimes he could go out to see his clients. So this material time, it was a Monday morning, and he woke up, went to do his daily cycling. At around 7:30, another sister of mine called me and told me to call Tim's number. There's a lady with the Tim's number, and the lady is saying Tim has been involved in an accident. So I basically took my phone, called the lady. The lady was just crying and yelling and telling me, "You come." I just told her, "Cool down, tell me what is happening." She told me Tim has been involved in an accident and he's just lying on the floor. Nobody is helping him, but he's just saying, "Help, help, help." She told me, "I've been calling all the numbers in this phone and nobody is speaking." I told her, "Okay, now be comfortable. I'm there and I'll take over." So I called a niece of Tim and I told her, "You go to Gatodo. I have instructed them to take Tim to Gatodo Hospital. The injury may not be treated in Gatodo. So when you reach there, ask for an ambulance." So they went to Gatodo, and during that time they were going, I was still in conversation with the lady who picked Tim, because she kept on telling me, "No, he can't breathe," so many things. And I kept on telling her, "You calm down, somebody is coming, but I also join you people." So Tim is with these two ladies. And now a passerby, another lady came with a car. She was taking her son to school. So she went to school, dropped the child, and came back and found them still there. So she agreed to stop. They took Tim to Gatondo Hospital. And by this time, Tim was still talking. I don't even think he lost consciousness, because he could even tell them, "Hold me like this, like this, like this." He knew his spinal cord has been injured because he stopped feeling his legs and hands on the spot. So that time, they were driving now to Gatodo. So at one point, they called me and told me, "Auntie, please, you come," because he's now asking for what. I told them, "Don't give him anything. Let's reach the hospital, because we don't know the extent of injury and we don't know whether they will decide to take him to theater." Everybody reached Gatodo Hospital, including my niece, and literally everybody, even the sisters, we all went there. When we reached, I saw Tim just lying in the bed in the hospital. Nothing was being done for him. They are just there doing nothing, not even giving him a drip. He had nothing. He was just on a bed, but yelling because of pain, neck pain. So the first thing, when we went there, he just said, "Auntie, I've lost my senses to the lower limbs and hands." And I told him, "Don't worry, we are safe. You are now in safe hands." I asked them, "So now what are you planning to do on him?" They said, "We are planning to take him to the X-ray department." I told him, "You can't move him because of the level of the injury. So let's do all those X-rays when we reach to a better facility where they will be able to do it in bed," because they were telling us we wheel him to the X-ray department. He could not breathe without his chin being lifted up because of the injury. We bought a collar, a neck collar to just support his neck. He became very close to the well-wisher, the one who came to help. So he couldn't even let anybody else touch him. He was just mentioning the lady's name. "Caro, you are the one who knows how to hold me so that I am able to breathe."
When I was told about the accident and we went to Gatodo, when I looked at him and saw that he was just lying there, unable to do anything, it was so devastating. But I held myself up. I just decided, now, God, take over. So with the help of my sisters and my other relatives, we were so many there, we were able to take him to Nairobi Hospital.
We realized Nairobi Hospital was the only hospital we could take him immediately, and they do the first aid, and maybe later on, after Tim is stable, we could transfer him to a place of where we could afford.
Now when we were told that he was paralyzed and he could not do anything for himself, oh, it was so sad. I wondered, now, how do I manage? How am I going to take care of him like this?
My background is nursing. I knew quite a number of doctors, and I knew Tim's illness requires a spine surgeon. So when we were in Gatodo, I called the spine surgeon and I told him, "I'm bringing you my nephew, please be ready." So he told us, "You must be here before 1 o'clock." When we went to the ambulance, his blood pressure went very low when we measured it. His level of oxygen was 70 something. So with the help of the paramedics and me now, we managed to put him a drip, oxygen. Thank God the ambulance was fully equipped, and we now took off.
I thank God all the time. As I keep on saying, I trust God and I know that things are going to be better. So I kept on praying and trusting that God is going to do something. It wasn't easy because all of us took that message. It wasn't good for all of us, even the sisters. As for me, I was affected so much.
We arrived in Nairobi Hospital at 12:59 p.m. because I checked my watch, and we called the doctor, and the doctor was there on time. In fact, he said, "I've been waiting for you. I was going to theater, but I was waiting for you." So we were received in Nairobi Hospital. Tim was treated, and CT scans, every investigation was done when we were still in casualty. They were treating him like he's admitted in the hospital. We didn't have a problem with the Nairobi Hospital. After an hour or two, they told us we are going to admit him in an intensive care unit because he is not well stable. Because his blood pressure was very low. He could not breathe properly. So they told us he needed close monitoring. So we said it was okay. So we waited in casualty, then we got a bed, and the results had already come out and the doctor had been told. So the minute we went to the intensive care unit, we found the surgeon waiting for us there, and Tim was admitted in the ICU. So he said he's going to join because his neck and the lower part of the body were not together. his bones had overlapped. So he couldn't stabilize. The neck could go this way while the body is still straight unless he has the collar to stabilize the neck to be upright. So he told us he's going to do this. He called us, me and Mama Tim. He called us and told us, I'm going to take Tim to theater, but I'm not taking him to theater for healing. I'm taking him to theater to make it easy for nursing management. Otherwise, the cord is completely cut. And you know, once the spinal cord is cut, they cannot rejoin it again. So he talked to us at length, he explained, and Mom gave a consent, which was better for him because now you can turn the whole body in one piece. But before you couldn't, unless you are more than 2 people to turn him to one side. So he booked Tim for theater that same day in the evening. Then as we never left the hospital, so he called us again and told us, no, I can't take him to theater. He's going down. So we were like, what's happening? So we were told, no, he has gone into spinal shock. Spinal shock is now every other organ is disorientated because the spinal cord is not doing the right thing. You know, now there is no coordination between the kichwa na huku chini. So we were told he is in spinal shock and we treat the shock first. Because if I take him to theater, he might not wake up. And I told Mom, at least I've understood what he has said. So mine was, everything we are told, I sit with Mommy kando, namwelezea what is happening. So Tim was never taken to theater that day. And we decided not to go and stay at Mama Tim's place because it's quite far from the Nairobi hospital and I live near there. So we decided to go to my place. We had left hospital at around 7. So by 7:30, she was called because she was the next of kin. And she was told, we want you to come back. Then I told her, just give me the phone, I talk to them. So I asked them, why do you people want us to come back and we have left? They said, no, we want to put a tracheal tube. A tracheal tube is put through the nose, now to breathe and be put on a machine to help him breathe. Because he couldn't breathe on his own this particular time. They normally get a consent form for anybody to be put on a breathing machine. Because 1, it's very costly. 2, it's a risky procedure. We asked them, do we have to come? They said, no, we normally tell people on phone, then the first thing you do tomorrow morning, you come and put a consent form. So we did exactly what they told us. And now we knew Tim has been put on a machine. We don't know for how long. So we go to the hospital the following morning and we find our team is there. They did not paralyze him completely. So he could see us, but he can't talk because he has something in the mouth. The tube is normally put in the mouth. So we stayed like that. Then they never took him to theater because he was still not very well stabilized. So they stabilized him for about 2 days. And then that day they took him to theater. Now put a plate at the neck somewhere here and screws. So now Tim became a whole being in one piece, but cannot turn on its own. He remained paralyzed from the neck down. So they tried to remove the tube on the 7th day, the tube that was in the mouth, and he couldn't breathe on his own. because they were telling us the injury was too much low, so he can't breathe without a machine, which is called a ventilator. So 7th day, they couldn't remove. 8th, 9th, every day they were trying to disconnect the machine to see if he can breathe on his own, which he couldn't do it for 3-4 days. And then they called us again and told us, if you stay on the machine for 10 days with this tube, they normally remove it and take the patient to theater and put a tube through here. And this one is called tracheostomy tube, through the trachea to relieve the upper part of the head, but he can breathe through here to the lungs, but connect him back to the machine, because that's a safer way and he will not get infected. But the other tube cannot be put for more than 10 days. So as we were just to say a yes, we were yes people. So we agreed. Tim was taken to theater, put an endotracheostomy tube, and now because Tim cannot eat with a tracheostomy tube, and he cannot live on IV fluids, intravenous fluids, we were told, come again, sign another consent form. We put something called a PEG. A PEG is a tube which is put somewhere on the wall of the stomach, direct to the stomach. It's a big tube which you can feed a patient on for a long time. So we said yes, and they put the tube. So now Tim is breathing on a machine, feeding on a tube, so he has no intravenous fluids because he's taking good amount of feeds. Because there you can put your 500 ml of food, you have 500 ml of water, you alternate. Anything you can blend and feed. So you are told now, kama muna blender kwa nyumba, muende mununue blender, because you feed him on the blender. Now, we are almost now going to 2 weeks. I think it was day 13 or 14. The doctor called us again as a family. He could sit with the whole family after every 2-3 days. That is the sisters, me, mom, and our Tim's aunties who are in Nairobi. So we could sit every few days to be given how he's feeling on. This particular day, we were called and he told us, now you people, you have 3 options. Sisi tumemalizana na kazi yetu, because there's nothing we can do for Tim. And munalipa 300,000 per day. Every 24 hours we are going to read the bill, it is up with 300,000. So he said, I have 3 options for you. Number 1, transfer Tim to a cheaper facility, but an intensive care unit, because he's still not breathing on his own. Mumpereke Kenyatta National Hospital or KU referral in an ICU. That is one option. The second option, take him to spinal injury unit, because now he's a spinal injured patient. Third one, make an ICU in your house. And you get ICU nurses, you buy everything, and Tim will be nursed at home. So bila hata kufikiria, kila mtu alisema tutaenda nyumbani. This time we don't even have money to take him to the house. So we all agreed. We went back. Tim could hear us and we tell him and he will say a yes or a no. So we just went inside and told him our plan is we make kwa mom's house, we make a room and make it an ICU, we take you there. And Tim was very excited. But it took us another 2 to 3 days because we didn't have anything. So every minute, hata tukitoka saa hiyo, tumeingia 2 hours later, Tim is asking, Auntie, when are you taking me home? He was so fed up with the hospital, he felt now if this is the option, and the doctor could explain to him everything. So he knew all what was happening to him, and he had accepted the situation that time. So it took us 3 days. We looked for things. We needed an ICU bed. An intensive care unit bed is a bed where you can tilt him in all corners. Because this is somebody who cannot move on his own. This is somebody whom you cannot leave flat in a bed because of chest infection. This is somebody who needs to be in a sitting position. So we needed all those facilities. We needed a ventilator. Remember, he still cannot breathe on his own. We needed oxygen. And we needed an oxygen concentrator. Oxygen concentrator, you plug it to the wall and then it makes its own oxygen. However, if there is no electricity, you can't use it because it will not make its own oxygen. If it gets spoiled, you needed as an oxygen cylinder. So we got all those things. God was with us because Tim has a pool of friends, and immediately we started a WhatsApp group, and people, not just friends, anybody who could hear, because like a bed, I was directed by somebody I don't know and told me, call this number, they will give you a bed at a cheaper price. Because the beds by then, the cheapest was 200,000 Kenya shillings. We were told the room has to be fumigated, the whole house. So we still now took another extra day because the room has to be fumigated. Because remember, we are creating an ICU at home. And this is the home that people have been using. And this is the home that people will still use. So we went to the mother's house with the ICU nurses, the company that we were given that provides the nurses, and they identified a room. And they said we cannot fit there's a room downstairs where we couldn't fit with all the equipment. So we have to take Tim upstairs through the staircase. And the question was, how do we go through the staircase on a patient who is on a stretcher? So we bought a wheelchair because now we cannot climb on a stretcher from an ambulance. So we got a wheelchair. Then we went home, and I'm telling you, I have a nephew who is strong at heart. Because when we reached with the ambulance, Tim is the one who was telling people how the wheelchair is supposed to be carried upstairs. And we were like, yeah. You know, we couldn't know whether to go through the back door or to maneuver the corners of the sitting room. But Tim told us, munipidue, mufanye hivi, tuende juu. All you need is the ventilator to be carried. We got a small ventilator, so it was portable. We could carry it. Tunamwekelea kwa thighs, tunambeba. So tukamwambia sasa utapanda juu bila oxygen. Akapanda juu. So he has been comfortable upstairs. That is now from hospital to home. So now we start the journey at home.
When he came from hospital, it was very hard to take him upstairs. We had to negotiate corners. So immediately we decided we have to look for a better way in case we need to take him back to hospital or elsewhere. So we thought of constructing a ramp, and we did it. We made a door up there. There was a room there where we made a door, and now we made the ramp. Now it's easier for him to come down when need be.
my outdoor life. He lived the outdoors and lived it. So that's what changed firstly. But my mind remains 100%. So what I do now is travel through what I watch. I was watching a lot of documentaries, and particularly about mountains, because I used to enjoy it, mountaineering. Because life has. Or he watches a lot of cycling, competitions, because that's what I enjoy doing. But to be honest, it's the grace of God that has been abundant. And he's deeply privileged, extremely privileged. Because what this season has taught me, it's part of everything. In spite of everything, God is with me. Let me give you a practical demonstration. What my family, my primary caregivers, I'm talking about my sisters, my aunt, my cousins, aunties, ni wengi, my mom, my cousins, uncles, and my friends. They've really come through for me. I'm talking about, they've really come through. Because presently, if I feel an insect on my face, I can't do anything about it. So you need someone to come and kill it. So he has 24/7 care. And my caregivers and nurses, it has been an incredible season off. Because these nurses work in different places. And if you hear their stories of what happens to their patients, different places, different wounds, I understand I'm privileged. Because you've lacked nothing. He's lacked nothing. From equipment, medical equipment, to drugs, to maintenance, the sanction that you witnessed. I call that maintenance. Things called sanction catheters, to syringes, to just the basic stuff. We've lacked nothing. And all of that has been contributed by a multitude. So much as, you hear that? It's an inspiration to others. He's an inspiration to others. And so many have been an inspiration to him. Yeah. Because it's a community. From my church guys, like the people who you spoke to, part of his church fellowship. Yeah. Some kids at church, there's some, he teaches Sunday school. Yeah. A program called Crossroads. It's the Rites of Passage program. Those kids, their teachers, they come to visit because that's his community. There's some? There's some boards he sits on. Yeah. And those guys have come to visit the community. Sisters every Sunday. They come to visit my friends, yeah, cousins, or friends from high school. Yeah. By grace, things have. Oh, ndevu zake za grace. Yeah, guys he's been with in high school have come to visit. It's a ridiculous kind of support. Yeah. He's exceptionally grateful. To the family, friends that continue to support every month. They send messages even if they can't come, if they're out of the country. I have a few friends outside the country checking up on me, sending messages and all that. It's very encouraging. I cannot be like this by myself. That is because of the grace of God. Number one, my community. Number two, and your daily caregivers daily. Because my aunt who's a medic, I keep telling her, ntamnunulia helicopter because of all the work she has done. Of course, mom, my sisters, my nephew.
We reached home and we did not just say, here he is, we just need to nurse him. We got the ICU nurses and the journey was not easy. For the first 3 weeks, he was still on the machine, ventilator. Then after that, we tried to remove it and the ventilator eventually came out. But he could breathe on his own, but through the tracheostomy. He still has the tracheostomy tube from then to date. But what happened there and then, you know, the social medias are very good, I would say, because everybody was on Google. And we kept on Googling what can be done to Tim, at least to have a better life than just being in bed, because he was now to be in bed for life, according to the report we got from the doctors. So we were told we need vigorous physiotherapy, physical therapy, just to make him not have contractures. Contractures is, there are some patients when they go home, miguu yao inakataa kukujuka. They stay just like this. So we were told you need a physiotherapist who will be doing vigorous physio on team on daily basis, twice a day. That is the neurosurgeon who told us that. And he told us there is hope. Tim is a young man. Remember, he's 43. And if you people can manage, there is a hospital in India which can do nerve stimulation. And he gave us the contact, and we started now the journey with them. So they give us ideas on phone. We did an interview with them and they give us ideas on phone, because what they told us is if Tim remains with no contractures, that is number one, and no other complications. Complications of spinal injured patients, the biggest complications are two: chest infection and bed sores. So we were told to take care. Tim should not have even a single bed sore. Tim should not have chest infection. And for you to control that, you need good nursing management and physiotherapist. So we engaged a physiotherapist. Actually, we engaged even before Tim came home. We organized to have one, which we have been having from the time Tim came home to date.
It was quite hard, and especially knowing that I was living alone in my house. Then now I had to have caregivers, the nurses, and him. So now the house now was full. Now I had to start taking care of many people in terms of cooking. I had to cook for many people. So it changed my life. And I had now to accept and continue doing it. We also had to adjust and look for the biggest room to give him. So I had to move from my room. But I accepted and I said it's okay. So we have continued like that.
We got caregivers. Initially, the first 2 months we had nurses from ICU. But when Tim stabilized, we realized we couldn't afford to pay them because their cost was quite high. So we got nurse aides. Nurse aides are trained caregivers who do this job at homes. So we realized we cannot have one because you can't turn him alone. You can turn him two people, but that would have tired me so much. And being nursing a gentleman, there are many things I cannot do for him, for his private life. So we managed to get 2 nurse aides who live with the mother plus me, and we help each other because you can't, having a tracheostomy in situ, you can't leave Tim not even more than 3 minutes alone, because there are so many things that come with the tracheostomy. Tim cannot cough out any sputum. If he has a cold, if he has sputum to cough out, those are the things we do bila kujua. It comes automatically. You find yourself coughing. And when you cough, you either spit it out or you swallow it, depending on your mechanism and how you have treated your body to behave. So for him, if he coughs out and there is sputum, you have to suck it out. So we still use a suction machine to remove his sputum from his bronchial tree. So, and that one, we do it, it's very frequent. You can even sit there with him for about an hour or so, depending on what has triggered. Like sometimes he's visited by visitors who have perfume. And you know, when you get perfume, there are people who react to those smells. So sometimes he reacts. Like we used to use sanitizer, which we stopped because we realized sanitizers make him cough. The more he coughs, the more he produces sputum. So we keep on sucking, and we have to use sterile gloves, sterile catheters, and the gloves and catheters is a one-off. If you're sucking him 10 times within the next 1 hour, you have to use 10 catheters and you have to use 10 gloves, sterile gloves, not the ones which are packed in 100 pieces. The 100 pieces we still use, especially when doing all other nursing duties, like cleaning him, changing his linen, all that. But for the tracheostomy suctioning, we use sterile gloves. Tracheostomy, the entrance is also a wound, nikidoda. So it has also to be dressed regularly, which we do after every 2 days. We dress the tracheostomy. Remember, he also has the feeding tube. We call it PEG. Feeding tube also has an entrance. So the same entrance we clean it just to avoid any infection. So far, we are in April, and we've never taken Tim to hospital for any treatment. What we do, the doctor writes for us the investigations to do, we do after every 3 months. Because one, we don't take him out. He cannot sit on a wheelchair because of balancing. The minute you put him on a 90 or 45 degrees, his BP drops very low and he feels dizzy. So we don't take him out to bask. So his sunshine he gets from vitamin D3, the oral one. So what we normally do, every 3 months we have to check his blood parameters, to check for infection, to check for, we take a swab from the trachea, and we take a swab from the entrance to the abdomen, the tube. When we take, we call it culture swab. So we take those every 3 months to the lab. Then they tell us whether they are clean or there's some bacteria. So far, God has been on us, because I don't think we've ever given Tim antibiotics since he came here. We only give him painkillers, vitamin D3, and other drugs, because a bedridden patient can easily form clots, blood clots in the body, anywhere. And once they draw a clot, you know how fatal it is. So he's on blood thinners, which he takes every day one. He's on muscle relaxant because they tend to have jerking movement. Jerking movement is the brain does not coordinate to the lower part of the body. So the minute you touch them, he can even kick you. The leg will be high up. So one, it's a positive thing. Two, it's strenuous to him. So we balance. We have to give muscle relaxant. At the same time, you don't block that completely. So that one we give according to the doctor's advice, because we still consult the doctors. There's a doctor who comes at home every month who just to check on his trachea, because we are supposed to change the tube every month. If you don't change the tracheostomy tube, it can also harbor some infection. Remember, it's a foreign body in him. So all that we do. And Tim, since he came from the hospital, and I thank God because he has also not had any urinary tract infection, he has been on a catheter, which we also change monthly. And for him, because he's on a permanent catheter, we put There are different catheters. There are rubber catheters and silicone catheters. So we use 100% silicone because very few patients react to silicone. Whereas rubber catheters, people react to latex rubber. So we put a change of catheter every month, change of tracheostomy tube every month, which are not cheap. We got a discharge summary. The discharge summary said it was a complete cord transaction. That's a complete cord is cut completely. And there are some motor system. He has one of the motor system is still functional. That's why he is able to jerk. Otherwise, if he wasn't able to jerk, it would mean nothing passes downstairs from the neck. So it means kuna some nerves, hizi za mwisho, we call them peripheral nerves, which feel the sensation. Because right now he feels sensation up to the elbow. He cannot lift the forearm, but the elbows he can even do that on his own. So that's why the doctor told us there is hope. So we sent that report to India and they told us there is hope. However, it's a bit on the higher side, the cost. The report said there is a lot of hope, and especially if we do not let the complications set in him, even if he takes some months before going, as long as there is no complication, they can still do it. So the challenge here we have is to take care of Tim, and now taking care of Tim involves quite a lot, because we can't work on him without gloves, just to prevent infection from setting into him. His room, we still treat it like an ICU, and we put masks and everything. We restrict visitors, not really restricting, but because home hakuna visiting time, sometimes we tell people, we kuja Wednesday, mtu akikupigia, ndio wasikue wengi sana. And we keep on, the room is well aerated, so hata kama mtu ako na homa, like us who are nursing him, if we have a common cold, we put ourselves on medication, and putting on a mask while entering that room is a must. So that's what we do to prevent the infection. Now, our monthly expenditure is quite expensive because we have the physiotherapist and caregivers and consumable materials. Consumable is quite a lot because the diapers, we have to use those things. The suction catheters and gloves are the most expensive things, because those ones we don't have, like you use 10 in a month. Depends on how he is. That's when the expenditure either goes very high, especially if he develops a common cold, because that's when he coughs a lot. So our expenditure as at now, we spend about 300,000 Kenya shillings on nursing management, physiotherapy, and consumables monthly. Setting up the ICU, because we had to buy the cardiac monitor, which we are still using because the parameters go on and off. So we have a ventilator, cardiac monitor, the ICU bed, bought the oxygen cylinder, and we have the suction unit. Then the suction units are 2, just in case one goes off, because that is the main equipment that we require for him. So the setting up of the ICU room at home, we spent about 1.4 million Kenya shillings. When we sent the reports to India, They came back to us, and we had an online conversation, and they told us what they can do to Timothy at this time is put a gadget on his back. This gadget will have some wires, like electric wires, where they will connect from head, the nerves from the upper side, which is not injured, and the lower side. So it's bypassing the injured place. These fibers will be working as guided by the Casmo gadget. It will be inserted on his back. It will be a 2-hour operation according to them. Then he is taught how to use it, plus the caregiver, and they said it can last lifelong. It is fully charged. They said now Tim has lost senses on the upper limbs and lower. So they advised us, because the total cost of the two will be too much, we start with the upper arm, because any human being will require arms, but he can be sat on a wheelchair after that, and he can be able to do most of his chores on his own. At the moment, Tim cannot even do that. Kufukuza fly. Hawezi fanya anything on his own. He cannot brush his teeth. He cannot wipe his forehead. He cannot do anything. He can only talk.
That is on the top of the list. Brushing my own teeth. But should I regain full function? Hata tusiende mbali. Once we remove this tracheostomy, I'll be able to speak with my normal voice. I'll go back to teaching the kids. That's immediate. It doesn't need anything. Just connecting to them on video. Yeah. There's fulfillment that I find in that space. Yeah. So they are removing this thing very soon, and yeah. Full function. I'll do the things that bring me joy. Back to the mountains, without a doubt. Back to the mountains.
I thank God I have medical people in my family, especially my sister. So when she would think that I need help, we just look for somebody, for a counselor, to take us through. And also their help also. My prayer groups, they pray with me. So it has not been very hard, because I have support system in terms of prayer, my pastor, and the people I have fellowship with. They have been helping me and praying with me and assuring me that all will be well. Sometimes I feel it, because I start asking myself now, how long is this going to be? You know? Because it has been a while. I ask myself how long. But all in all, I trust God.
Tim, being a man, is very disciplined and very focused, quite ambitious, because even in school he was very good. So we hustled for jobs, and I also happened to be his best man, and we were very tight. He loves cars, quite a fast driver, but very careful. He loves riding, and also cycling. Tim is an outdoor person, very adventurous. He has scaled Mount Kenya, Mount Kilimanjaro twice. And my prayer for him is that that God will see him and level the mountains ahead of him. Right now, he can't scale Mount Everest, which is his wish. But I am hopeful and I believe that he will regain his mobility and will scale Mount Everest, and he'll come out victorious.
Tim knows I'm a prayer warrior, and he also prays. So anytime we talk, I always encourage him, and he tells me, Mom, I am okay, I am at peace, and I know God is going to do something at his own time. He's going to heal me. So sometimes, as another day he was telling me, this is God's business and he knows how he's going to deal with it. So when I hear him talk like that, I get encouraged and I know that he has hope and he has faith in God.
First time I saw him was during a joint class. We have a cohort where we split. The girls do their thing on the side, the guys do their thing on the side. Then sometimes we have joint classes. That was the first time. Then after that we continue with our sessions, and then we had another joint class. So during the joint class, I'm seated next to another friend of ours in the group. He's called Brian. So I'm talking with Brian, and we're talking, he's like, yeah, there's a friend of ours who is in ICU, and we're talking, and I'm like, yeah, what happened? And then when he's talking, in my mind, I'm thinking, somebody I don't know, it's somebody he works with, Uko. Then he says, yeah, Tim, he's in ICU. I'm like, what? Which Tim? The one we were with 2 weeks ago. He's like, yeah, he got a cycling accident. So first, it's too much information too fast. So first I was angry at Brian, because that's where you start. Start with telling me who it is, because now I know who it is. So it was, and I think many of us found out at that time.
Tim is a guy we've been doing life with. I remember some of the moments that we shared with him were, we used to have sessions where we just sit down and talk about life and discuss things that were challenging to us. And I remember, I specifically remember a quote that Tim liked using, and he kept saying that, I see you, I hear you, and I accept you just the way you are. And that really stuck with not only I, but even the friends that we had, that irrespective of where you are in life, irrespective of what you are doing, that he still saw us and he still accepted us just the way we are. And it's quite interesting that he still shares that quote even right now. It's something that we have really treasured, something that we really treasure in our hearts. And he was like a mentor to us, just the way he's a mentor to very young people in church. He's a mentor to us. We really miss him. The fact that now we used to talk to him on WhatsApp, but now he really cannot type and chat with us. We endeavor to come and see him at least every month, so that he doesn't feel like he's alone. He has always been there for us, and we feel that we have to also support him during this time.
I was there that day, on the fateful day, that accident when it happened. And he had an accident doing what he loves. So on a personal level, I think it's just realizing that the time we have, do things you love to do. But also, I feel that the pressures of a man, that when you can't provide for yourself, when you can't do anything for yourself, I think that's something any man would not want. We are built to provide for our families. Tim even goes further and provides for the community. He's a mentor to very many young men. He gives his time for things ordinarily not any other man would do. So when he's bedridden and cannot do this, I'm sure it takes a toll on him. But on the contrary, he's very positive. His mental state is perfect, A1. So it's for us as friends and well-wishers and family to do it for him. That's why we would want to fundraise so that he regains his mobility and he is able to do what he loves and help the community at large.
My greatest desire is for people to help us get the finances to take him to India so that he can come back to his life again. And I believe people are ready to do it because they have most of his friends and many people have helped us. So far we have spent a lot of money on upkeep and people have been giving, and I believe they are going to give.
The resources needed are a lot because in a month he spends like 300,000, which is not easy to raise, but friends have come through, family, everyone, the church, it's a community. We've done several fundraisers. We had one recently at KICC where we were stepping up for Tim. He likes hiking, so we were challenging ourselves to climb up KICC in the shortest time possible. So we tried to make it as fun as possible, not like the normal fundraisers, to do something that he loves doing. So we sold t-shirts. We're still selling t-shirts, we're selling hoodies, we made mugs and water bottles to try and raise the funds needed because every day he needs care.
We need about 12.5 million for him to be treated. And personally, I am retired. I used to work, now I'm retired. So I've been doing some small businesses, which I cannot do right now because I'm engaged at home. So I would appeal to friends and relatives just to give us the money, because if you give little by little, I'm sure we can get that kind of money and take him to India for treatment.
He's a guy that you will notice. He's full of life. I remember when we used to talk, he really likes cycling, and one other passion that he likes is mountain climbing. And even the sessions when we come and visit him at home, he still talks about how he really wants to climb Mount Everest and scale, that mountain. It's quite interesting for even some of us who can walk, but we are afraid of doing some things that he ordinarily says them as if they are nothing to him. So I believe that we need to really rally behind him. We really need to step up for him now that he cannot do that, and really try and raise this 12.5 million, raise this fund so that he can actually walk back and fulfill the dreams that he has.
Tim and I were very close. He used to even have the keys to my house. So when he got the accident, I abandoned. I'm retired, but I used to do some work in homes of other patients, nursing care at homes. But the minute he got the injury, I stopped doing everything and I moved to their home. Actually, the first 3 months, I didn't even go to my house because he could not allow me to go. Then I started training him kidogo that I can go for one day and come back. So I don't even spend a night in my house. I moved here completely. And this thing has taught me a lesson because we talked with the team on a one-to-one. In fact, sometimes we are up with him and the mother is like, munaongeaga nini? Because we sit there, we can sit anaambia the caregivers and then mukapumuzike huko nje. So we sit with him and he tells me very many things. He tells me, Auntie, you know what? I'm not a patient. I am recovering from an injury. And this gives me hope because he tells me, you know what, Auntie? The day I will brush my teeth, I will just go somewhere and thank God for it, because I need, it has taught me a lesson also, because now this is a young man who has hope. nikikufa moyo ndiye anani encourage, because sometimes I spend a night with him, especially when one caregiver is off. I do the night duties, and every time he wakes up and calls me to do the suction, we finish, and then I go to sit. Then he tells me, Auntie, come. Uko sawa? You know, he's feeling for me, and yet I should be feeling for him.
Tim is full of life. It's quite interesting that when we come to visit him in the house, it almost feels like we are the ones coming for a therapy session. He doesn't see himself as if he's not okay. He still talks to us, he still counsels us when we have a problem, and we sometimes ask for his advice. We even joke in our circle that if someone is stressed or has a problem, then they need to go and see him immediately, you know, so that he can really get you back to life. So I think that in itself makes us even have the will to actually, you know, live, the will to improve on ourselves, because Tim is always saying that it will get better. You know, despite the fact that I'm bedridden, I know that one day I will walk and scale those mountains that I've been talking about. So that gives us hope in life, and knowing that this medical problem that he has, knowing that the medical reports also say that maybe the medical reports support that there is hope, I believe that we should rally behind him and raise these funds that are stopping him from achieving the dreams that he has.
So my first time to see him after the event, the incident, was in December. So in December we came a whole bunch of us. And I remember going up those stairs, and in my head I'm thinking, I know what I saw the last time, what am I going to see now? You know? So anticipation, and you don't know. But Fred was there, so we went and I saw him and he was smiling. That is the first thing you see. His face is shining and he's smiling, and even if you were scared, you'd stop being scared.
We come here, every Sunday we visit him. He really encourages us. He fills my cup. You think you're coming to encourage him, but he's actually the one doing the encouragement. We tell him he's actually my therapist, because I worry too much. Googling every possible treatment. You get stressed about the funds. Where will the funds come from? You worry a lot. But when you come, Tim tells you, take it a day at a time. A day at a time. These are God's problems. God will never leave you nor forsake you. And his faith. He has helped me build my faith as well.
Tim loved traveling. He visited me and my family often in Kisumu. He stayed with us a while and took us places, really. Tim took me to my first hiking. I almost died from that experience anyways. But it was a great experience. We went with him to the beach, down Malindi, Watamu, did so many things. So it was really the big brother for me. It is difficult to see him the way he is. I remain positive. He's always reminded me to be disciplined in life. Every time I try to achieve something, I always remember how determined and focused Tim was. And he's always been very, very, very determined, a very strong spirit, a happy soul. I think I've been trying to lose weight the longest time. Every time I hit the gym, I always tell myself I'm doing this for Tim. He introduced me to cycling. So I'm an amateur cyclist. I also try to cycle. And every time I feel worn out, it is the spirit of Tim that reminds me that, let's keep going. Let's be positive. Everything is doable. We can do this.
Tim, as you always hear me tell you, God is able. He's going to heal you. It doesn't matter how long you are going to wait, but one day you will walk in your 2 feet. and we will praise God together and thank Him, because He has always been there for us, and He will never leave us or forsake us.
During this season, I've had a lot of time to think and reflect and realize that I have lived. And I'm talking about living out loud. Because I've been up Mount Kilimanjaro twice. I've done Mount Kenya. You've cycled to Kitui and back. I've gone to Sagana just because bicycle cycling. I've lived. I've done the things that I enjoy. The morning of my accident, I was out cycling. It's just something I enjoyed. So what I keep telling anybody that comes to see me, do the things that bring you joy. Because life is for living. There's no way that God preserved me for nothing. There's a purpose. So I'm excited to see what that is. Life iko mbele, haiko nyuma, iko mbele. There's so much life to live for me and for everybody. For everybody that watches this channel, yeah. Life is for living.
I know my nephew will one day walk. And Justus, this boy will one day walk. He has been an instrumental to me. Every time you need bulbs changed, it's Tim, it's Tim. Even today you've got to ask him, Tim, tufanya nini, machine imeharibika. Anakwambia, enda kwa simu yangu, call so and so. Anyway, I know one day, Tim will come to the kitchen, we cook, we eat. He loved cooking, and I know if you come and tell me, niweke hii na hii tupike akule. I know Tim. Sorry for that. Sorry for being emotional. Tim has taught me to hang on. Just to hang on. And we are doing that. We are hanging on with him. We will not let him down. That's my son. Those people who are there can help us to make Tim walk again. And I know he will.